Good morning. Today we are being petty. So I've been watching a bunch of those reacting to 1-star reviews of my favorite books or reacting to 5-star reviews of my least favorite books. And I wanted to make a video similar to that. And yet I found myself perhaps not looking through Goodreads in the best mood, because as opposed to looking for 1 or 5-star reviews that are well thought out and supported and have actual ideas, I kept getting distracted by the absolute chaos that is on that platform. I use Goodreads solely to track how many books I have read. I don't use it for any other purpose. So this might be news to me and to me only, but some people need help. So I decided I would collect a list of my favorite negative reviews of my favorite books. These are the ones that made me think, made me question my beliefs, made me laugh out loud, made me wish that therapy was accessible and affordable to everyone in this country. So let's begin. Let's start with The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton. The first one that caught my eye was, I didn't like The Outsiders when I read it in grade 7. I especially didn't like it when we had to adapt it into a play, and I was only cast as the teacher. The teacher. I had one scene. I was a theater kid, and the scene I had written from the play was cut. But I digress. This woman went on to write like 5 more paragraphs, but the fact that she chose to start her review with her personal, just objectively selfish, angry theater kid feelings as a former and current theater kid was like the belting show tunes and breaking into choreography. The Denny's energy is strong with this one. And as someone who is a theater kid, I feel like I'm allowed to make fun of it because girl, I'm not gonna show the photos of these people, but she is not in grade 7 or anywhere near grade 7. But clearly this memory is so strong for her, she had to start her review of the book with the play that she was cut from, where she had to play the teacher. Moving on, one of my absolute favorites that I saw overall, I decided to move to Skeleton Cinderella by Robert D. Sansucci. Now, Skeleton Cinderella is a retelling of the Cinderella story, except everybody is a skeleton and everything is like creepy and cool and spooky and morbid. You know, her dress is made of spider webs, and as opposed to her shoe slipping off at the ball, her foot snaps off at the ball. But in the end, when the prince finds her, he just puts the foot back on because she's a skeleton. And the text is written in verse, so those are the main differences. I love this so much. Okay. I suppose someone with an Addams family would read this to a child. Not bad. I was a morbid kid. My family wasn't an Addams family, but I'll take it. I heartily felt like reciting the Apostles' Creed after reading this monstrosity depicting a post-mortem princess living as a skeleton roaming in the world. 2 things. I declare copyright on Postmortem Princess. I will be making merch. Second, the Apostles' Creed. For y'all who are not indoctrinated, the Apostles' Creed is a statement of Christian belief. It basically says, I believe in the God, the Father, the Son, the Holy Trinity. I believe Jesus was born, died, resurrected. Like it's just, it's that. It's reciting your faith. Why a children's book with skeletons makes you want to recite that you think Jesus is Lord? Okay. Cinderella is such a magical and beautiful fairy tale with a story and a moral lesson. This book is just a conceptual, morbid retelling of the story of Cinderella with the undertone message that even princesses die and go to the grave. Let it be known that princesses go to heaven in the resurrection with a glorified body. There is so much to unpack here. First of all, I like that she emphasized, because this has to be a woman, story, as if the Cinderella retelling isn't just telling the same story with skeletons, but okay. The undertone message that even princesses die and go to the grave. Everybody dies. If your kid is not old enough to understand that yet, heard, but like, and this idea that because they're dead, because here's the thing, because in the book, everyone's a skeleton. It's not as if Cinderella has died. She has come back as a skeleton and she's like, cavorting about. Everyone, like the stepmother, the stepsisters, the prince, the footman, she has a little dead dog, like a skeleton dog. It's just exactly like our world, except everyone is a skeleton. So like, is she actually dead or is she just a skeleton? Because they're all dead, Anyway, and on top of that, let it be known that princesses go to heaven in the resurrection with a glorified body. I don't even know what this means, because if we're talking about fiction, no, not all Disney princesses are Christian. There's, as far as I remember, there's no explicit religion mentioned in any Disney princesses. So this whole resurrection with the glorified body, And in real life, like actual royalty, not all of them are Christian either. So even if, I'm not even getting into the idea of like, is Christianity true? I'm just saying, where did you get this idea that all princesses, fictional and real, would abide by the rules of your faith? So many questions. Anyway, moving on. We have Axiom's End by Lindsay Ellis, which you have heard me talk about on this channel. So this one was like paragraphs long, but we're gonna start with just the opening. Okay, I'm gonna go all out with this one. To call this book weak would be like calling Ann Coulter a little bit right-leaning. And much like Ann Coulter, the author seems convinced that she's engaged in a repartee with people stupider than her. There's a lot. As someone who watches Lindsay's content, any type of comparison between her and a right-wing political pundit is just, first of all, hilarious, but cool. She wants to emphasize how weak she thought the book was. Fair. The thing about the audience being dumber than Lindsay, I don't understand. Like, even if you don't like the book, which I think there are, plenty of criticisms, to make that statement about the author whom you don't know, and then throughout this whole review, if you can even call it that, she continually and consistently makes personal jabs at Lindsay. And I was like, you know what? Maybe she just like really, really didn't like this book. And because of this book, has certain associations with the author. Fine. But then I got curious. And this person, again, I feel like this is a woman. Doesn't this sound like, correct me if I'm wrong. Or I shouldn't say correct me if I'm wrong. Unless this is you. Please don't comment. This feels like a woman to me. I went to Truth of the Divine, which is the sequel to Axiom's End, that has not been released yet. And this person has already given it 1 star and written a bad review. So I think they just have a vendetta. I can understand hating a book. I have a rant review on my channel, but to give a 1-star review and write a sarcastic negative review of a book that nobody has read yet, what is the point? Calm down. Why are you so obsessed? Next, we are going to go to The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. Another instance in which someone I think has a very personal vendetta against the author. I've got your personal legend right here, Paulo Coelho. This may be the first book I've ever read that was so bad it actually made me angry at the author. If I ever run into Paulo Coelho, I hope I'll beat him down to the ground and take the inflation-adjusted equivalent of the $13.95 I paid for this worthless rag out of his wallet. He adjusted for inflation, y'all. He doesn't even want the original $13.95. He is anticipating beating this man up, assaulting an author in the future, and then getting his money back plus interest. Okay. If you want to read something sort of the thoughtful on the whole, follow your dreams theme, then the author's short introduction is actually better than the book and doesn't delve so much into the mumbo jumbo quasi-mystical crap that you find in the story. The book is very spiritual, so if that's not your thing, that's not your thing. But on the whole, this author is nothing but a snake oil artist, and this book belongs on the shelf with The Secret and other self-help books that use some sort of mystical sounding language to tell you that pursuing the things you want in life isn't just a matter of personal satisfaction, but will actually make the world a better place in a profound way. But what if your heart's desire is to be a serial killer? How does that fit into your little mystical worldview, Mr. Coelho? Ma'am, sir, who? First of all, it seems like this person has an actual issue with the idea that the thing that might give an individual the most satisfaction could potentially be a good thing for the world overall, but I digress. I would like to think that no matter what you believe in, whether it's religion, faith, spirituality, your grandmother's southern wisdom, that if it leads you to become a serial killer, like that's just a straw man argument. Like, can we all agree? Can we all agree? But you know what? I just can't. I have never read a book so bad that I wanted to physically injure the person who made it. I get wishing that you hadn't wasted your money. I get wishing you hadn't wasted your time. But to wish physical harm on a person for writing a book you didn't like? This is what I was talking about, where I wish therapy was free. But Hope you're doing well. On another note of hope this person is doing well, we have The Defining Decade by Meg Jay, which is about making the most of your 20s. There is a whole section in this book, a chapter about childbirth and child rearing. It's about child rearing in general, but it's very specifically about childbirth. And if you want to have kids by a certain point, you need to plan backwards. So like if you want your kid to be 5 by the time you're finishing grad school, you need to start grad school now. You need to start trying to have a child now. If you want to have a child with another person, as opposed to, in vitro or IVF, if you don't want to be a single parent, you have to figure out when you want to get married. So like, the whole thing is about that. And the review is, and this is the entirety of the review. This is not just like the opening paragraph. We broke up. But thanks for reminding me that my eggs are dwindling. My husband is out there enjoying the company of some other woman who is more proactive than me and tying him down, and I should expect nothing more out of my career than a wretched work environment for the next 10,000 hours, while I prove my worth to the world. Cool, I feel better now. Sis, Meg Jay did nothing to you. Like, clearly you read this book at the wrong time, but come on now. You're gonna give it 1 star because it made you feel worse about the fact that you hate your job and your boyfriend broke up with you? Like, and the whole 10,000 hours thing, that is not exactly fair, because in the book she says there is, the example that she's giving is someone who feels insecure because they don't know anything and haven't paid their dues, or I shouldn't say know anything, don't know enough. But it's not like if you're in a terrible work environment, you just have to stay there for 10,000 hours. It's rather playing on the outliers logic from Malcolm Gladwell, that it's gonna take 10,000 hours for you to feel confident and proficient in something. So if you wanna leave your job, but know that you shouldn't keep leaving jobs every time that you feel challenged or uncomfortable, or else you're never gonna grow. I just like, that's not the book's fault that you hate your job and your boyfriend broke up with you and your eggs are dwindling, or you feel like your eggs are dwindling. So I have no idea how old this person is. The book is just saying, hey, if you want to have kids biologically and you want them to be with a partner, you need to make a plan as opposed to just waiting for it to happen when it's going to happen. Perhaps I'm not being sensitive enough because I don't have a job. Like, I don't hate my job and I don't want to do anything with my eggs and my partner hasn't broken up with me. But it's like, and there are a lot of reviews like that for a lot of books, so I only put 1 in there. But I find it so interesting how people are in a certain situation, they read a book that makes them feel worse about that, and then blame it on the book, as opposed to, would this have made you feel bad if you were married and had 3 kids? No, then it's you. It's not the book then. Anyway. Moving away from the reviews that I just found hilarious, this is one sentence for Shibumi by Trevanian, which I've said on this channel is one of my favorite books because of the writing. I think it's so well written. It simply says, a fantasy mainly written for men. I don't know why, maybe my internet rattled brain can't distinguish humor anymore. The 2 exclamation points get me. It gets me. But the reason I chose it is because I think they're right. As I was looking at this sentence and meditating on it, I realized that although there are women characters in Shibumi that I like, not saying they're good characters, not saying I'd want to be them, but characters that I enjoy reading about, it is absolutely a book written by men for men. The main character is a white man. All the main characters who actually have any character agency or growth or anything like that are white men. And again, going back to Aziz Ansari and Master of None, when I first read it and when I have subsequently reread it, I am reading it, and I'm not pretending to be Nikolai Hell, the main character, because I don't want to say the only reason I'm not pretending to be him is because I don't want to kill people, but that I don't want his life. Like, it's not that type of self-insert book of yes, I wish I had these experiences. When I'm reading it, I am absolutely doing what I'm supposed to as an audience, allegedly, and identifying with the people I'm supposed to identify with. There's a racist CIA agent. This book does not pass the Bechdel test. No women talk to each other. Do any women talk to? No women talk to each other about anything except men. I am completely wrapped up in the chaos and saga and the drama of this Renaissance man, CIA assassin, in these ridiculous situations. But that did not stop my enjoyment of it. Yet there are other books and other forms of media where I'm like, I can't even enjoy this. I cannot find something to sympathize with. I can't find my way into the story. I'm not enjoying the writing. I'm not enjoying the plot development, the character development, and that separates me. So I don't know if this just means that Trevanian is even better writer than I thought, because I am able to be pulled into this story, even though it is absolutely centered on, focused on, written by, and probably for men, or if perhaps I read it, because I think I read it in high school, if I read it at an age where I was too young to recognize how narrow the focus was, but still enjoyed the writing so much that it became one of my favorite books. There's a lot to unpack here in one little sentence with two question marks. So I thank you for that. And this is a 1-star review I actually found helpful. Next, we moved on to another children's book, the children's book Stellaluna, which is about a young bat who's knocked off of her mother's back and ends up in a bird's nest. And she doesn't know that she is a bat. She doesn't know how she ended up in this place. So she tries to sleep during the nighttime, tries to sit up in the nest, tries to eat bugs. Like, she tries to do all this stuff so she can be accepted by these birds until she ultimately is reunited with her mother, finds out that she's a bat that's meant to fly at night, that's meant to eat fruit. And then she's still friends with her surrogate siblings who are birds, but she's reunited with her community of bats. And to me, the message of the story was to be yourself, and how you are born, how you are made is totally valid. You don't have to change to please other people, and that everybody has a community. This person did not agree. This person said, "This is a child's book with an adult's agenda. My son had brought it home from school as one of the approved books the school and government have selected. It is a blight on the school, the government, and the author. It is an empty and hollow story with a massive agenda of indoctrination. Stop ramming this down children's necks and allow them to be kids without trying to warp their own moral compass to your twisted views. If 0 stars were available, this book would be my first 0 stars book." I have no idea what's happening. First of all, a blight on the government? That's okay. But second of all, a massive agenda of indoctrination. I have to wonder, did she finish the book? Because Stellaluna is absolutely forced to act like a bird until she finds out that she's a bat, and this is how she was born, and how she is good and valid, and finds her community, and she stays friends with the birds, because there's a situation where they end up lost from home, and it's nighttime and they can't fly, or they can't see, so she uses her night vision to guide them home. I don't understand. I don't understand how this is indoctrination. I have so many questions. And the second review, clearly this book has more issues than I previously realized. What a weird Amber Alert fail plot. First of all, love the idea of an Amber Alert for birds, but okay. Why doesn't the bird mom look for Stellaluna's mom at all? Why would she do that? Like, why? The whole point is she's like, I don't know how this thing landed up in my nest and you can stay, but you need to act like a bird. Like, if she went looking for Stellaluna's mom, there would be no plot. And also, like, yes, this is a book about animals having conversations that we know that they wouldn't have, but Amber Alert? Anyway, plus she makes the herbivorous bat eat meat, which was maybe supposed to teach kids not to be picky. I took it as more as teaching kids not to be vegan or kosher. I love bats, but this book is no good. She makes Stellaluna eat meat because she's bringing worms home for the birds. Why would a bird know that a bat is a herbivore? What, like, how/why would this bird know that Stella would prefer to eat mangoes? Stella's a baby. She doesn't even know she prefers to eat mangoes. Like, and then vegan? Vegan or kosher? How did we bring religion into this? I have so many questions. Also, I did love the final sentence. I love bats, but this book is no good. Ooh, child. And the final review that I think kind of exemplifies that kind of in between of, is this review actually going to be helpful for someone who wants to read this book? And I just want to be snarky on the internet. We have a review for My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Ottessa Moshfegh. It is one sentence, and it says, "This is the kind of literature they should give elderly patients in group homes to convince them to choose euthanasia." He's literally saying, if we want to convince elderly people to commit physician-assisted suicide, which is a whole other can of worms, thank you for bringing that up on Goodreads, if they read this book, they will want to die. What the fuck is wrong with people? I just, like, is this funny? Like, is this funny to them? Because I really think that they're being serious, and maybe that's my fault. Perhaps, I mean, there are some reviews on Goodreads that are such obvious trolling. And maybe some of these, like, to dip a toe in that, but I tried to pick ones that seem to be clear misunderstandings of the book entirely, like Stellaluna, or a totally valid idea like in The Alchemist, and I don't like mystical mumbo jumbo stuff, I don't like spiritual stuff, and I don't like anything that reminds me of that. But now I'm going to take it a step further and say that I'm going to physically assault the artist, and then they owe me the money that I spent for the book plus inflation. God, I love that line. if this is how you choose to use your Wi-Fi. So it feels a little weird after this video of me being annoying to be like, hope you have a great day, but I do hope you have a good day. And I do hope if a book ever angers you that much, just maybe like drink some water, take a walk, decide how much is the book, how much is you, and maybe consider the fact that you might actually be misinterpreting or misunderstanding something. Just maybe. Goodbye.